Hey team, today I'll run you through how to create this 3D parallax effect inside of After Effects. Originally this started off as just an image that I separated into 3 layers inside of Photoshop: a foreground, background and midground. First things first, we'll load up After Effects, and once we've done that, we'll import the Canyon Split Photoshop document. Once you've imported the document, you'll see this dialog box appear. We'll make sure that the import kind is set to Composition, and the layer option is set to Editable Layer Styles. Click OK to confirm those settings. Over in the Project Manager, we'll notice that we have a folder that contains all of the layers from Photoshop, as well as a new composition. We'll double click on this to open that composition. In the Layers panel, you'll notice that there is a background, midground and foreground layer. To start things out, we'll turn on the visibility for each of the layers, and then next we'll come down to the Toggle Switches and Modes button at the bottom of the Layers panel. Toggle the switches and modes until you have the 3D column available for your layers. Next we'll toggle on the 3D checkbox for each of our layers. We'll bring up the position value for both the midground and background layers by hitting the P key. You'll notice that because the layer is now 3D, there is 3 values underneath the position instead of the usual 2. These are the horizontal axes or the x-axis, the vertical axes or the y-axis, and finally the z-axis or the depth axis. Under our midground layer, we're going to change the Z position value from 0 to 500. Under the background layer, we're going to change the Z position value from 0 to 1000. I'm quickly just going to change from the active camera over to custom view 1 to illustrate what's happening at the moment. Using this Z axis value, we've created some distance between each of the layers. Next, we're going to bring up the scale value for both the midground and background layers. Again, to do this, we select the layers and hit the S key. With our scale values open, we're going to scale up our layers so that the edge of the layers again meet the edge of the composition. You can do this by clicking and dragging on one of the scale values. If the scale is scaling up too fast for your liking, you can hold down the Control key after you've started to click and drag to slow down how fast it scales. Next, we'll do the same thing for the other layer so that it scales up to the edge of the composition as well. Once that's complete, we can close up the options for both of these layers, and then we'll create a new camera layer. Make sure that the camera is set to a 50mm preset. Besides that, all the rest of the settings can stay the same. Next, we're going to create a new null object layer. I'll rename the null object Camera Control, and I'll also check on the 3D option for the camera control. Next, I'll parent the camera to the camera control. The reason for creating a null and controlling the camera like so is because the camera settings are a bit different than the rest of the layer options inside of After Effects. Creating the null controller means that you can use the null to control the camera much like you would the rest of the layers inside of After Effects. With the null selected, we'll press the P key to bring up the position value, and then hold down Shift and press R to also bring up the rotation values. We'll set a position keyframe by hitting the stopwatch next to the position value, and we'll also set an X rotation keyframe by hitting that stopwatch too. Next, we'll jump the playhead forward to 5 seconds, and we'll change the Y position value, which is the second value under position, to 540. We'll also change the Z position value from 0 to 700. Under the X rotation, we'll change the second value, which is partial rotations, to 5. Next, we'll convert all of our keyframes to Easy Ease keyframes. A quick way to select all of your keyframes underneath a value is to simply click that value. With all our keyframes selected, press the F9 key to Easy Ease all your keyframes. If you're a Mac, unfortunately you'll have to right click one of these keyframes and use the keyframe assistant. With my playhead at the 5-second mark, I'll press the N key to close up the in and out points of my workspace. Now we can preview what we have just animated. This effect is subtle, but you can notice the changes a bit better when viewed in full screen. Lastly, I'll just illustrate what is happening exactly by jumping back over to the custom view 1. As I scrub through the timeline, you'll notice that the null object pushes through to the back object, which is controlling the camera. This causes the illusion of parallax between the layers. Thanks for watching team, and I'll catch you on the next one.